There's a moment in your life that you might not even know has already happened. A moment where, without warning, the energy around you shifted. You felt something pull at your chest, a sensation like déjà vu mixed with electricity, and for a second nothing felt real. Then, everything returned to normal, or so you thought. But what if I told you that in that exact moment, you jumped timelines? That you left behind an entire reality, a version of events that no longer exists for you, and stepped into a new track of possibilities. Quantum jumping isn't science fiction. It's not a fantasy. It's a natural ability that you've been using unconsciously your whole life. And once you learn how to do it intentionally, you will never look at your life the same way again. We're going on a journey far beyond manifestation, past the law of attraction. This isn't about thinking positively or visualizing success. It's about becoming the version of yourself who already lives in the timeline you desire. That version of you already exists, not metaphorically, literally. In the quantum field, every decision splits reality, creating infinite versions of you, each living out different outcomes, shaped by different choices, different thoughts, and different energies. So when we talk about quantum jumping, we're not talking about creating a new future. We're talking about aligning with a version of reality that already exists and shifting consciousness into it. Let me take you into a story. There was a man who had lost everything: his love, his money, his passion. He was at rock bottom. One night, after hours of staring at the ceiling, he walked outside and sat under the stars. He whispered one sentence: "I can't do this anymore." But instead of collapsing, he made a decision. He said, "From this moment on, I will live as if I've already become the person I was born to be." He didn't know what that meant, but something shifted. Over the next few weeks, his behavior changed. He moved differently. He spoke differently. He created with fire. And his world began to reflect that shift. He wasn't lucky. He jumped. He tuned his consciousness into a new timeline, and that timeline began to unfold around him.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
This is how quantum jumping works. You don't wait for the world to change so you can feel different. You feel different first, and the world bends to match. But to do that, you need to understand the structure of timelines. Imagine a massive tree with infinite branches. Each branch is a timeline. At every moment, your thoughts, emotions, and actions determine which branch you're on. But most people are asleep. They repeat the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, take the same actions, and stay on the same branch. Quantum jumping happens when you make such a radical shift in energy and identity that your consciousness leaps from one branch to another. And the more aligned your vibration is with the version of you in that desired branch, the faster the jump happens. This isn't about hoping. This is about embodying. The quantum field doesn't respond to your wishes, it responds to your being. If you want to be in the timeline where you are healthy, wealthy, and fulfilled, you must become the version of you who already lives that way. What time do they wake up? How do they speak? How do they treat their body? What do they say no to? What do they believe is true? You don't need to guess. You already know. That knowing is your access point. And the moment you act from that place, not once, but consistently, you begin to merge with that version. And when the merge is complete, the shift is irreversible. But here's the catch. The old timeline doesn't want to let go easily. It will test you with echoes. People, patterns, and problems from your past will rise up like ghosts, trying to pull you back. This is the test. Will you react the same way? Will you doubt the shift? Or will you hold the frequency of your new timeline, even when the evidence hasn't fully arrived? The key is emotional discipline. Can you stay in the vibration of your future self while your current reality still looks the same? That's where the real jump happens. Not in your circumstances, but in your state. Let me ask you something deeper. What timeline are you addicted to? Are you unconsciously loyal to suffering, struggle, or survival? Are you still identifying with a version of you that was shaped by trauma instead of truth? Most of us are, and we don't even know it. We wear our past like a badge. We think we're being realistic, grounded, humble. But really, we're just vibrating at the frequency of our old story. And as long as we do that, we stay locked in the timeline that story belongs to. So how do you break the lock? First, you get radically honest about who you've been. Not to shame yourself, but to see clearly. What energy have you been living in? What patterns have you repeated? What identity have you been protecting? Then you create a vivid image of the version of you who lives the life you desire. Not as fantasy, but as frequency. You study that version. You feel into them. You let them become more real than your current doubts. And then you act from that place. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't wait for proof. You become the proof. This is the power of energetic alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are all sourced from your future self, you begin to collapse the gap between here and there. You bring the future into the present, and the present becomes a portal. This isn't metaphorical. It's literal. Your nervous system begins to calibrate to a new normal. Your brain starts wiring new beliefs. Your emotional body starts vibrating at a higher level. And suddenly, things around you begin to change, not because you force them, but because you match them. Now let me share something even wilder. There are moments very rare, very precise, where you can quantum jump in an instant. These are called timeline thresholds. You'll know them because everything inside you says, this is it. Sometimes it comes after a breakdown. Sometimes it comes through a conversation, a dream, or a moment of total clarity. But when it comes, you must leap, completely. No half measures, no fallback plans. You step into the new version of you with your whole being. And when you do that, reality responds instantly. But jumping is only the beginning. You must anchor the new timeline. This means living in a way that makes the new version of you non-negotiable. You set boundaries. You shift your habits. You change your environment. You protect your energy like gold. Because anything that connects you to the old timeline, anything that drags your vibration back must go. And out of fear, but out of devotion. A devotion to who you are becoming. A devotion to the life that's calling you. Devotion to the version of you that's already watching you from the other side, saying, come on, we've been waiting. So I ask you now, who would you be if you had never been wounded? What would you allow if you weren't afraid? What would you claim if you knew it was already done? These are not questions for your mind. These are codes for your soul. And when you answer them not with words, but with embodiment, you open the gate to a new timeline. Quantum jumping is real. You've already done it 1,000 times without knowing. But now, the time has come to do it on purpose, to become a conscious timeline traveler, to stop waiting, to stop wishing, to stop wondering what could be, and start living what already I. There is a shift so powerful, so irreversible, that once it happens, the old version of you no longer fits into your life. You walk into rooms that once felt familiar, and now they feel distant. You hear people speak, but the words no longer land the same way. You try to explain what's changed, but language fails. That's because quantum jumping is not something you simply understand, it's something you become. You don't just learn it, you live it. And from that moment on, you are no longer playing the same game as before. You're not even on the same board. You've moved to a different layer of consciousness, and now everything must realign to meet you there. This is where most people panic. Not because the new timeline is bad, but because it's unfamiliar. The human nervous system is addicted to the known, even if the known is painful. So when you jump timelines, your body will sometimes try to pull you back. It will whisper doubts. It will recreate old habits. It will search for the familiar pain that used to define you. And if you're not conscious, you'll interpret this as a sign that something's wrong. But it's not wrong. It's just the old timeline gasping for breath. And your job is to let it die with love, not fear. To stay grounded in the version of you that chose to rise. Let me be honest with you, the true challenge of quantum jumping is not the jump itself. It's the integration. The moment you jump, your energy is ahead of your environment. Your vibration has shifted, but your external life may still look the same. This is the in-between, the void, the space where most give up. They say, it's not working, and they revert back to the previous timeline. But if you understand this phase, if you hold your frequency through the gap, you'll witness something extraordinary. A reality will begin to catch up. People will change. Circumstances will rearrange. Synchronicities will multiply. And you'll know this is not coincidence. This is quantum calibration. Now let's talk about the mechanics. If you want to shift timelines consistently and consciously, you need to master 3 things: identity, vibration, and decision. Your identity is the anchor. Who are you choosing to be today? Not based on your past, but based on your future. If you still identify as someone who struggles, apologizes for their power, or doubts their worth, then you will tune into timelines where that identity is mirrored back to you. But when you embody the identity of the higher self, the one who already lives in alignment with your dreams, you shift the signal, and the quantum field responds accordingly. Next is vibration. Your energy is your access code. Every timeline holds a unique frequency. So if you want to access a new one, you must match that frequency energetically. If the timeline you desire is filled with love, confidence, clarity, and abundance, then your job is to generate those feelings now, not later. Not when it arrives. Now. Because when you feel it now, you become it. And when you become it, the timeline has no choice but to open to you. That's not spiritual fluff. That's quantum law. Finally, the most misunderstood key: decision. Every jump begins with a decision, a true decision, not a wish, not a maybe. A full-body, soul-level decision that says, this version of me is non-negotiable. And then, everything you do aligns with that choice. You don't just talk about it. You move like it. You think like it. You say no to anything that pulls you out of it. You become ruthless with your alignment. Not because you're cold, but because you're devoted. And here's the magic. When your identity, vibration, and decision are in coherence, the jump becomes effortless. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase it. You simply are it, and reality bends. Not always instantly, but always inevitably. Because the quantum doesn't resist alignment. It reflects it. Let me share a truth that might bend your mind. You're not manifesting the future. You're remembering it. The life you desire is not being created, it's already done. It exists in the infinite field of timelines. You're not here to build it from scratch. You're here to tune into it. And the moment you do, you begin to receive memories, ideas, opportunities, and feelings that align with that timeline. This is why some people feel like they're living déjà vu after a shift. Their consciousness is syncing with a timeline that always existed, but was previously inaccessible due to misalignment. Let me ask you something only your soul can answer. What timeline are you pretending you can't access? What version of you are you waiting for permission to become? What dream have you convinced yourself is too far away, when in truth, it's only one vibrational shift away? These questions aren't meant to inspire you. They're meant to activate you. Because the moment you stop waiting and start becoming, the jump begins. And yes, there will be resistance. People around you may not understand. Some will feel threatened by your shift. Others will try to pull you back into the old frequency, not out of malice, but out of familiarity. You'll be asked over and over, who do you think you are? And your answer must not come from ego. It must come from truth. You say, I am who I've always been. I just stopped pretending I wasn't. This is the essence of timeline mastery. It's not about escaping reality. It's about selecting reality. You're not here to suffer through the one you were handed. You're here to choose the one you were destined for. And the only thing that separates the two is your willingness to shift. So let's get practical. If you want to quantum jump today, start with this. Close your eyes and feel into the version of you who already lives your dream life. Don't think, feel. Let that version of you take over your body. Stand like them, speak like them, breathe like them. Then ask, what is one action I can take today that aligns with this version of me? And then do it, not for results, for resonance. Because every time you act from alignment, you reinforce the jump. The final leap is not made with your body. It is made with your being. This is the moment where everything you've learned, everything you felt, everything you've remembered comes into coherence. You're not chasing a version of yourself that's far away, you're collapsing the distance by becoming it now. And here's what they don't tell you. The most powerful quantum jumps don't feel dramatic. They feel inevitable. They happen in the quiet when you stop performing and finally align. They happen when you stop asking, what do I need to do? And start asking, who do I need to be? Because being is the new doing. And when you shift who you are being at the deepest level, the timeline must rearrange itself to match your new harmonic. This is why so many people fail to sustain their manifestations. They approach quantum jumping like a transaction. They try to think their way into a new life while vibrating at the same old frequency of doubt and effort. But the quantum field doesn't respond to tactics. It responds to truth. The truth of your energy. The truth of your embodiment. You cannot fake alignment. The field reads your signal, not your words. So if your signal is still rooted in fear, scarcity, or unworthiness, you will only access timelines that mirror those states. But when your signal is rooted in clarity, courage, and coherence, you unlock timelines that were previously invisible. And here's the deepest secret: you don't need more time. You need more presence. Timeline shifting is not about the future. It's about intensifying the now. When you become fully present, as in, completely here, completely surrendered, completely embodied, you collapse the past and future into a single point of power. That point is where the jump happens. Because the quantum doesn't operate on linear time. It operates on vibrational alignment. So the more present you are, the more access you have to all timelines simultaneously. The more fragmented you are, the more trapped you become in the one you're trying to escape. Let me give you an example you've likely experienced without realizing. Have you ever had a moment where, for no logical reason, you felt like you were living in an entirely new world? Maybe you woke up one day and felt like something was off, but in the best way. People treated you differently. You noticed different patterns. You felt more clear, more confident, more you. That was a jump. You didn't try to make it happen. It happened as a result of some internal shift, maybe a decision you made, an emotion you released, a truth you finally accepted. That's the real quantum leap. It's not always loud. It's exact. But if quantum jumping is so real, why do most people stay stuck in the same timeline for years? The answer is simple. They're loyal to their past. They've built an identity around their wounds, their failures, their limitations. And even though they say they want change, their vibration says, I am still the one who was abandoned, betrayed, overlooked. The field doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your identity. The moment you stop identifying with the version of you that was shaped by pain and start identifying with the version shaped by purpose, you jump. Not because you fixed everything, but because you stopped being someone you never were. The power of quantum jumping lies not in the leap itself, but in the choice to never return. Anyone can momentarily elevate their state. But to anchor a new timeline, you must make the old one obsolete. That means letting go of the coping mechanisms, the excuses, the relationships, and even the dreams that were built in survival. You must be willing to leave behind the comfort of the known for the truth of the new. And you must do it without needing applause, validation, or guarantees. Because quantum jumps are not made in the spotlight. They are made in the stillness of your decision. Let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. Are you willing to disappoint the expectations of your past to fulfill the destiny of your future? Are you willing to let go of who you've been to become who you already are? Because the jump requires sacrifice not of anything real, but of everything false. You must sacrifice the illusion of control, the comfort of excuses. the seduction of the familiar. And when you do, life will begin to show you just how fluid reality really is. You'll look back and wonder how you ever believed you were stuck. Now, a word of warning. The more you jump, the more you activate a responsibility. Because the more aligned you become, the more powerful your frequency. And the more powerful your frequency, the more impact you have on the field around you. You become a catalyst, a mirror, a disruptor. People will feel your presence and either rise with you or resist you. Do not take it personally. Do not dim your light to make others comfortable in their unchosen timelines. Your job is not to convince. Your job is to broadcast the frequency of your chosen reality so clearly that those who are ready to jump will find their own reflection in you. And this brings us to the final integration. Quantum jumping is not about escaping your life. It's about reclaiming it. It's not about bypassing pain. It's about alchemizing it. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. When you jump timelines, you're not moving away from reality, you're moving closer to essence. And from that essence, you create worlds. So how do you live in this new timeline? You stay in alignment, not out of fear of falling back, but out of devotion to what's true. You continue to choose the energy of your future self, even when the world tempts you with your past. You breathe deeper, you move slower, you speak with precision, you act with intention. And you remind yourself daily, this version of me is inevitable because I am the timeline. And when people ask you, how did you do it? You smile. Not because it's a secret, but because it was never about doing. It was always about being. And you were always the one with the key. The jump is yours. The timeline is waiting. And the portal is now.